So let's talk a little bit about geopolitics, because you guys been talking about that, right? Well, first, let's talk about Trump.
Sure.
What do you guys think?
I like Trump. Okay. I voted for him. We told our audience, you need to get out there and vote. We can't have a president. That's going to bring a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You know.
Was that the main reason, or you just like Trump?
That's I like Trump.
Point.
Okay, but you would have picked him over Biden too.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but we're considered, a lot of people consider us far right. So, I mean, I would go even further. Look, I voted for Trump. There's some things that I wish he was a little bit stronger on. But I get it that he had to move a little bit more to the center to be able to get some of the votes. But I do like Trump. I've always liked him. There's some things I disagree with, namely Operation Warp Speed and his, ridiculous support. But other than that, I like a lot of his stuff. I want him to be a little bit stronger on immigration as well. But, I think for him to get elected, he had to kind of be a little bit more in the center with it, because immigration is a very divisive topic.
Yeah.
I think nobody's perfect, but out of all the odds we had and choices, Trump was the best pick. What I will say is that his actual presidency and what he's been through is amazing. He's been called, a rapist. He's been called criminal. All these things, and he'll be able to come back and become president again, which I think is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, for those that are unaware, he was indicted in 4 different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Twice federally. One in the District of Washington for the, the election stuff with the January 6th stuff, like trying to say that he defrauded the government. Then in Florida for the document fraud case.
Yep.
And then in New York for the falsifying business documents. Then in Atlanta for a RICO for basically similar charges of what a DC he was getting hit with January 6th and subverting the election. And I was actually concerned because, I had done these cases before. And I think the strongest case they had against him, the government, was the document fraud case. Excuse me, not document fraud. The classified documents case. Because what a lot of people don't realize is if you have certain documents in your possession, they could just get you off of that. And people are like, well, you could declassify the documents. He's the president of the United States. Well, what they don't get is the classification doesn't matter on certain documents. If it's national defense information, NDI, it automatically, you can't have it, right? So what ended up happening was the FBI got a search warrant, went in, found the documents, and him just having them there is a problem. They're not in a SCIF or whatever, or they're not properly being held. So that case was actually, I think, the strongest case the government had against them. I'm glad it ended up getting dismissed on a technicality, basically that Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, didn't have the authority to prosecute it. So that's how I got thrown out by one of the district judges down there in Florida. But that was the one that worried me the most. And then they ended up dismissing the DC one, the New York one. The judge adjourned it, which, another funny story. He was 100% going to go to jail. The judge, Merchan, was planning to send him to Rikers. And the reason why I know this, there was reporting from Alex Jones and Laura Loomer and a bunch of other people that they were clearing space at Rikers Island for him to go to jail because he was supposed to be sentenced. But, and I got to give credit to Laura on this one, Laura Loomer. She broke a story the week that he was supposed to be sentenced, that Judge Merchan's daughter was receiving money and had also worked for under the Kamala Harris administration. And obviously that's a gross conflict of interest. So that put the judge in a bad spot. So he had to push the sentencing back. That sentencing getting pushed back gave Trump the time needed to campaign and eventually win the presidency. And then now the case has basically been adjourned. Yeah. But they were definitely trying to send him to Rikers for being convicted. I think he went to trial. He lost 34 convictions for the falsifying business records, which, Alvin Bragg, the district attorney out there in New York, had campaign. We're gonna go after Trump, whatever. It was a fucking witch hunt. But I'm glad that he ended up becoming president, whatever. But they wanted him, man. It was absolutely lawfare to the highest level. And luckily, she was able to buy him some time with breaking that story. Judge almost had to recuse himself, so he had to obviously put out that fire before he could do the sentencing.
Yep.
There was a bunch of law enforcement officers in New York that were planning to strike because they knew that this was going to probably come down. They were going to not come into work that day, that he was going to be sent to Rikers. But then you think to yourself, how the fuck would the Secret Service be able to protect him in jail? That's and I think that's another reason too why Hunter Biden got pardoned, was because obviously he's a criminal, and he ended up getting pardoned by his father, which was, looks crazy. But people forget that he's the immediate family member of a sitting president. How would Secret Service effectively protect him in jail? So bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's funny with the Hunter Biden thing. It's I get why people are jumping on it, but even for me, I'm just I think 100% of us would pardon our own son.
Yeah,
it's
from the human element. Yeah.
What do you expect to happen?
I think,
especially once you already lost.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
That's your last.
I'm scorching the earth.
And,
I'm pardoning everyone.
and you got guys like, Kash Patel, who was the FBI director. He was nominated. You got guys like him that are saying like, hey, we're going to, there's going to be hell to pay, et cetera. So you're like, damn, well, when they come in, they're going to indict everybody. So, I do think that Trump had talked about potentially pardoning Hunter. But the thing is this, presidents typically pardon at the end of their term.
Yeah.
So Hunter would have had to probably do some years in jail before Trump pardoned him on his way out.
Yeah.
So I think that's what also pressured Biden to say, you know what, I'm going to get my son out of this situation. And it's funny, not only did he pardon him, he kind of gave him immunity up until for like a decade past. I think to protect himself too with the whole Burisma thing. So
Just anything else he might get caught
What are your
up
thoughts
in.
on Trump?
Oh, I love Trump. Yeah, I think he's great. I have my. I might get you guys some. Do we have any more Make America Wealthy hats? I think the red ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we made some Make
need some
America
merch,
Wealthy again
man.
hats?
Yeah. We rock with Trump too. We covered the campaign. We told people got to get out there and vote. We were real big on telling. I mean, because Kamala was just such a terrible. It's amazing to me that people even like were trying to say like, yeah, we need to put her in office. The woman can't speak. You know what I mean? She was.
She's a puppet.
She's a puppet. She couldn't really. And the thing is, she didn't give an interview on an adversarial news station for months.
You guys obviously have a massive podcast. I mean, how cool was it to see just how big podcasting played into the election?
Oh, huge.
Immense. Actually, shout out to Trump's son, Barron Trump. He's the one that pushed Trump to go to these podcasts and
he
push the
pushed him
agenda.
too? He's like, it's going to make a
100%.
difference.
Because without him, I think Trump would have did some of these interviews. But Joe Rogan was a huge influence on the culture as well.
Oh, yeah. Him and then Elon going right after. It was like, that's it.
Sorry,
So
you got a point.
yeah. What I was gonna say was I talked about this on Twitter. So you look at Kamala Harris, right? She got all the A-list celebrities, traditional celebrities to endorse her. Eminem, Beyonce.
The biggest waste of money ever.
Yeah.
Meg Thee Stallion.
Meg Thee Stallion.
Glorilla.
Quavo.
That video was crazy of Meg Thee Stallion, like
twerking at the first one. Yeah.
yeah, it was
That's
just I
disgusting,
saw
bro.
I don't see many memes, but that one was fun. It's like, dang, I can't believe she didn't win, like spending
Yeah.
$10 million on this. It's
Yeah.
just like
But
What the heck?
it's interesting because what this election kind of showed multiple things. But the interesting thing was she got all the A-list celebrities to endorse her, right? And it's interesting because she got people from
Taylor Swift.
who was Bon Jovi, fucking classic rock, all the way up to Taylor Swift. So she had multiple generations of A-list celebrities endorsing her, right? Actors, actresses, etc. All of Hollywood endorsed her. But then you look on the Trump side, he had influencers. He went on Theo Von. He did Aiden Ross. He did Rogan. He did a bunch of
Logan
different
Paul,
podcasts.
all these guys.
Yeah. He went everywhere, right? And it went to show that the allure of traditional celebrities no longer has the same influence that people thought.
Yeah.
Right? Like, someone like an Eminem who is world renowned, we all know him, we all have heard, Clean Out My Closet, whatever. Like, that's cool. You like his music, but at the end of the day, you're not listening to them for hours at a time like a Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah, you don't know Eminem.
You don't know him. You don't. So, and people were shocked when they saw him endorse him, and that kind of spoke testament to like, wow, this is a guy that used to be controversial, most canceled guy. Now he's over here on the left endorsing someone like a Kamala Harris, who stands for cancel culture, by the way. So, versus Rogan, he's going to talk about polar bears or bears at some point, right? Because you've listened to hours of his content. So people identify way more with influencers and streamers than they do traditional A-list celebrities. So I think Trump going on these podcasts and having long-form content and discussions that isn't scripted or whatever was also huge for the American public to also hear his perspective, kind of humanize him a bit, because politicians typically are looked at as like bots and puppets and people don't trust them, which, understandably so. But with Kamala, she took the traditional Obama route of let me get celebrities to endorse me, right? Which would have worked in 2008.
Yeah.
But now in 2024, where people are able to do their own stuff and have their own platforms, I've noticed the influencer route is a way better route. And I think it helped way more with pulling voters over, because I know with us, we brought a lot of black voters over to Trump because we were saying, look, the Democrats don't give a shit about you guys. And we're really big on like telling people in the black community to like not have a victim mindset, right? Because a lot of them, white supremacy. Shut the fuck up, dude. Like, it's like you're just a loser. Stop being fucking lazy. Get out there and work.
Yeah.
So obviously that pisses a lot of people off, but then also we wake a lot of people up too. And we're like, hey, you got to get out there and
Take
vote.
accountability.
And, take accountability. The Democrats are lying to you. They sit there and tell you, oh yeah, we're going to give you all this benefit or whatever, but they don't, bro. They get into office, they don't give a fuck. So,
just to his point, we brought about something different this election: the advent of independent media.
Yeah.
Back in the day, of course, it was controlled. People were paying for people to lobby their posts and hide different things and call it fake news. But with the advent of Rumble, X, and other platforms, for the first time we were able to see people speak their true mind and true thoughts, right? And at that point, you open up the door of, you know what? For the first time, we can say the reality of what things really are happening, right? What's happening right now, and the truth of it. And bring into that now Elon interviewing Trump on X. Nothing holding it back. No fake news. It's all real in your face. So now you can see in real time what's true and what's not. That, along with the podcast, Trump was bound to win.
The other thing too, like people forget, is like after January 6th, Trump got banned everywhere. They banned him on Facebook. They banned him on YouTube. He was banned everywhere. So, and I'll never forget his first interview. He went on Nelk and he talked about the election being stolen. Banned within 24 hours. YouTube took the video down. So people forget that like censorship is really fucking, it's a problem. So with platforms like X and Rumble, like all the biggest political podcasters, especially on the right, Steven Crowder, Bongino, a lot of these guys, they were able to run streams and like kind of like combat the narrative and put this information out to people, and that really helped with getting people educated on what's going on. Because let's be honest, a lot of the mainstream platforms, social media platforms, they're more left leaning, right? So having alternative media like X and like Rumble was instrumental in people being able to get information on both sides and kind of making a decision, because they don't have to rely on mainstream platforms or mainstream media. And that was huge, because if you, on election night, all the biggest streams, Bongino had like 500,000 people watching live on Rumble, and Crowder had like 500,000 people watching live on Rumble. The biggest on YouTube, I think, was PBD. He had like 270K on YouTube. But people on election night, Rumble dominated. That's because Rumble tends to be more, it's free speech, which a lot of times tends to be more conservative.
Yeah.
And that, I think that was huge in helping get Trump in.
Yeah.
X and Rumble were like huge, man, because if we had to rely on these other platforms, we know that they're going to censor.
Are you going to the inauguration?
No.
Are you going? No? Oh.
I mean, I haven't even thought about it, but I don't know. I'd be down. But I was, what's interesting? So I've supported Trump from lots of different perspectives of, conservative values is what I'm voting for.
Of course.
And a lot of people, they're like, well, Trump's this, Trump's that. Like, he's not even a Christian, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, regardless of what he's done, first off, when you're 83 years old, let's see all your baggage.
Yeah.
And all the sin and everything else you've had in your life at 83.
Yep.
Right? Accomplishing a lot, too. All the bridges you're going to burn, all the failures you're going to have, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're lucky enough to make it that far, your history is going to be checkered with a lot of things. Myself,
especially when it's been in the limelight.
Exactly. So I'm like, forget all that, all right? But two, it's just like, I'm voting for the outcomes I want, not necessarily the man. It's like, hey, I know if this guy gets elected, all of these outcomes are far more likely to happen, period.
Yeah. Controversial take. That's high IQ shit. I say this all the time. I don't care if the guy is a racist or he might not be the best person. What are his policies?
Yeah.
What is the outcome? Is he going to be the best leader? I don't care about his personal life. The guy, like, we're going to talk about policy and what is he going to do for the nation. What I've realized is, because we've done this on a podcast now, so I have a little bit of a body work. I asked the girls, who are you voting for? And why did you vote? 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to vote for Kamala. Why are you voting for Kamala? Because Trump is a racist, because Trump doesn't want abortions, whatever. And like, they're misinformed about a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And it's all like personal stuff. And I'm like, okay, they don't even really know or care about the policies. They care more about, what they heard in the media. So they're more susceptible to the mainstream lies, right? And the other thing too, right? So, and if we had to rely on the female vote, by the way, we would have had Kamala in office. They did like a little thing, and they showed the country. It was all blue if we had to rely on the female vote. So
they wanted a woman president.
We would have had Kamala in. And a bunch of girls said that too. Oh yeah, I voted for Kamala because I want a female president. What the fuck does that have to do with anything, you idiot? Like, we're all worried about inflation and everything else. The number one reason I actually voted was because of foreign affairs.
Yeah,
we got a conflict going on in Israel. We got a conflict going on in Ukraine. Wild in the Middle East. We could potentially end up with World War III. And, we need a strong leader in place to ensure that we don't end up in another foreign conflict. And people say, well, those wars don't affect me. I don't care, man. Actually, it does, stupid, because people forget that the price of food started to escalate after Russia invaded Ukraine. Why? Because Ukraine is responsible for making a ridiculous amount of bread all over Europe. If you go ahead and you destroy the food industry there, guess what? We're going to feel the reverberations of that here in the United States. So people don't understand that foreign affairs and foreign conflicts especially absolutely dictate your quality of life here in the United States. So if we want to talk about the Middle East and what Israel's doing over there, well, guess what? If the price of gas goes up because the Middle East produces a bunch of oil, well, your quality of life is going to go down here in America. So a lot of Americans don't have they're a little short-sighted thinking like, oh yeah, inflation, my life sucks because XYZ, but they don't realize that the reason why your life sucks is because of a lot of things that are external, because we live in a globalized world now. So a big reason why I voted was, look, Trump is going to keep us out of war. Being in war is bad. It's not good for business. We got to get these neocons and war hawks the fuck out of here, which Kamala, by the way, she was bragging, oh yeah, I have all these Republicans that support me. They don't even support Trump. You go and look at those Republicans. Who were they? The same architects of the Iraq war in 2003. The same neocons that brought us to war over there, that brought us no fucking benefit whatsoever. So that's another. That was the main reason I voted for Trump. I supported him anyway because obviously I always tend to lean right. But foreign affairs was absolutely at the top of my list because that's the one thing that you can't control, right? You can always make more money, stave off inflation, deal with it to some degree, right? But you can't control if we go to a war and the consequence of that. And then if we end up in nuclear warfare, we're all dead anyway.
We're all screwed. That's
really like the most important thing in my opinion, because you can't. That's the only thing that's truly out of your control, and that's the world. That's the president that handles that.